On to some politics now. After meeting behind closed doors until late last night, Republicans nominated Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson as their choice for the next House Speaker. Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer suddenly dropped out of the race yesterday afternoon, just hours after clinching the nomination. Emmer, who also serves as Majority Whip, was the third frontrunner to fail in his bid for the gavel in less than 3 weeks. The House is scheduled to convene at noon today. Scott MacFarlane is on Capitol Hill with more. Scott, good morning.
Hey, Anne-Marie, good morning. This has all been like a long round of musical chairs in which nobody is winning. For the fourth time, House Republicans have chosen a nominee to be the next House Speaker. This time, it's Mike Johnson of Louisiana, a former talk radio host, a lower-ranking member of Republican leadership. He's in his fourth term, and he voted to decertify the 2020 election results. And that could be a pivotal vote because yesterday, just 4 hours after winning the nomination, Minnesota's Tom Emmer quit the race amid criticisms from fellow Republicans that he voted to certify President Biden's win in 2020. And there was a social media post from former President Trump blasting Emmer, calling him a rhino, a Republican in name only. After Emmer's departure, 6 other Republicans got in the race. All of them were men, and it was Mike Johnson who prevailed after several rounds. Late last night, he won the endorsement of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who is also from Louisiana and also pursued the speakership and lost his run earlier this month. But Anne-Marie, what an uphill climb still for Mike Johnson. He needs 217 votes from a Republican conference that is just saturated right now in bad blood from the past few weeks. And the voting could begin as early as 12 p.m. Eastern.
So give me a sense of sort of what will be taking place between now and then. I had said before that I would hope that Republicans wouldn't put this to a House vote, a floor vote, unless they knew for sure that they were going to nail it. But when you mentioned Mike Johnson's stance on the outcome of the 2020 election, I think it was, I just thought to myself, I don't know. I mean, and if Donald Trump gets involved again, this may be challenging.
This sure does feel like a referendum again on the 2020 elections. More than 1,000 days later, it's still a pivotal issue, if not the pivotal issue. So what happens between now and the vote? Ultimately, and obviously, Mike Johnson's going to have to galvanize nearly the entire Republican conference to support him. If you need 217 votes, you can only lose 4 of the 221 Republicans. There were an awful lot of Republicans who were absent last night during the ballots that selected Mike Johnson as the newest nominee. And there's possibly this combination of exhaustion, frustration, and embarrassment Republicans have been experiencing that caused some absenteeism last night, but also, Anne-Marie, might be just what Mike Johnson needs, a Republican conference that wants this over with.
And then what happened with Congressman Tom Emmer? He was like one of the few names that I actually sort of recognized. Tell me that it was more than just, a post on Truth Social that sabotaged his efforts.
Oh, that Truth Social post absolutely kneecapped Tom Emmer, not just because it made him almost unelectable in a Republican conference where people adhere to Donald Trump's posts and seek the loyalty of Donald Trump to avoid primary challenges, but it also raised the issue of that 2020 election vote and raised the profile of what was this mark on Tom Emmer's record, according to several House Republicans, deep Trump loyalists speaking with CBS News. If Tom Emmer were hoping to go past that issue and get beyond that issue, Donald Trump made that impossible.
There must be a conversation within House Republicans about just how much influence are they going to allow Donald Trump, who is currently just a candidate, to have on their ability to get back to work.
Donald Trump is not the silver bullet for any House Republican trying to become Speaker. We saw that with Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan of Ohio, chair of the Judiciary Committee, deep, loyal Trump advocate, had Trump's endorsement and came up short. But he can disqualify somebody if he goes against them, because with a margin of error of just 4 votes, well, there are far more than 4 Trump loyalists, devoted loyalists among House Republicans. So he can't make you, but he can break you. We saw that play out. So many words over the past 24 hours.
Yeah, you compared this to a game of musical chairs where no one's winning. I'm not even playing this game. I'm exhausted. Exhausted. And it doesn't look like there's an end in sight. Somebody turn off the music. Can you talk to us about what's at stake? I mean, the reality of it is it's sort of interesting to watch this, but the House can't do anything. The Senate can do what it can, but I mean, nothing can move forward until the House gets it together. And that's serious.
Yeah, less than a month till a government shutdown deadline, and the House has been stalled in all of its work to avert that. They have to get a speaker to get it restarted, but there are even more immediate needs. A farm bill has to pass to support farmers nationwide. They have to get aid to Ukraine and Israel. That can't happen until the House is reopened. But also, there's just that broader issue, the embarrassment so many of these House Republicans feel. They told me about it yesterday, that they just feel deeply embarrassed because this isn't just happening in front of Americans. It's happening on a world stage at a time of crisis. America looks broken in its legislative branch. They need to fix that, and ultimately that also works in the favor of Mike Johnson. There's a fatigue that is clearly set in, and the next nominee up might be the lucky one.
Right, just wear them out. That's one strategy. Scott, thank you very much.